All right.
Welcome in to the Two Timers.
Yeah, if we had a good little audio dub there.
We're back.
We're back. We have a lot of viewers on at the moment, so I think we'll.
Fun. Look at us.
I'm getting an internet signal as well, so if my end's choppy, just let me know.
Interesting.
Yeah. We are absent Maresco tonight. We invited him to join, but he said post his loss this week, he no longer wanted to be a standing member of the Two Timers. So we'll see if and when he ever comes back.
I think it was, one of those like rage moments. I think he'll come to his senses and like tomorrow and be like, I'll be back on the show like next week probably. Like it's all good. But yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what he does. But we do have an OG Two Timers for the first time in a while. I think it's got to have been over at least a season now since it's just been you and I, huh?
Yep. Yeah, it's good to be back, man.
It is good to be back. Let's hop right in. Let's breeze through recap since we don't got Maresco here, and I'm realizing now as I'm pulling up the deck that I forgot to animate the coin selections. So you're just going to see them right off the bat through the coin check.
There we go.
And we'll go after that. So correct in this one. I don't have too much to say about this.
Yikes.
It wouldn't really have mattered. I know I love to blame injuries, but like Weggy's team, I think would have beat everyone else in the league this week. I'm pretty sure. So
you lost another player this week, right?
Yeah, Diggs is gone. He's off my team. Yeah, he's no longer made it. I'm losing a receiver a week. A starting receiver a week is kind of what seems to be the MO at the moment.
It's brutal. But yeah, Weggy.
We appreciate it, Dave. Thanks for being here.
Weggy really starting to come to life, man. I feel like Jalen's kind of he had 3 rushing touchdowns. Wow.
Jeez. Yeah, Jalen had an insane day. I mean, insult to injury that I played the Cincinnati defense against Weggy's team. So maybe should change that up. I thought they were scoring well against other fantasy teams, and then didn't work out.
Yeah.
You know what? If my kickers can all perform, I'd be happy to do that. We'll see. We'll see what happens by the end of the year. This one, though, we were all in unison on, and we all went with Weggy. So at least picked up the pick this week.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Bad when you pick against yourself.
Well, we'll see. Speaking of our lone viewer, I don't know if you want to enter any comments into how you were feeling this week. Dave's team really showing out. Complete performance for the most part. That CeeDee Lamb bit coming off the trade really helping out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's got to be good for Dave. And then I feel like Kyler's kind of had a weird season, but he had a good week. And then Natalie, she's been dealing with injuries as well. Still missing Nico and
coming back in a week or two as well for her.
Yeah, Moss has kind of cooled down a little bit. Seems like Chase Brown's kind of taken over that role in Cincy, so it's tough.
Well, and we'll get into it probably a little bit later with standings, but like there are a number of 4-4 teams or right around them. Like Natalie is 4-4 and in 10th. a good win, and I think she has decent points for. I'm not sure, or at least she has a lot of points against. But really, really in the playoff hunt. Nothing going anywhere yet.
Right.
And Kelsey finally showing up this week too. Who knows what Hopkins showing up or whatever the receiver situation in Kansas City will be, but Kelsey might kind of start to reemerge down the stretch. Not good points for, not good points against, David. We'll pull it up. We'll look at it later. No fact checking from the comment section.
Yeah.
This one we did mainly get right though. Outside of the coin, went with David. So that's good for us.
Aubrey had a bad week. It's probably because of jury duty. No practice time this week.
Wasn't able to get his kicks in.
Yeah.
Another high-scoring week. A lot of high-scoring like barn burners. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and pull this up now so we can see our picks. But we all had a lot of faith in Matt Jonesy's team. The coin believing in Jonesy.
Yeah. I think the big one here is the Bo Nix play, right? Like he picked him up off of waivers this week and decided to roll with him. And I feel like Bo's been getting better as the season's progressed.
Seems like it.
So
using a Broncos player against Matt is kind of ironic.
Yep.
That and the Pittsburgh defense. I mean, against the Giants, to be fair, but it seems to be a pretty high scoring option for him.
For sure. And Joe Mixon, dude, he's been so good. Like outside of the games he's been hurt, like been honestly probably close to the RB1 most weeks or in that range.
Much to the downfall of my quarterback, CJ Stroud.
It's true.
Denver's been a decent team this year. I mean, not amazing, but I'm sure Matt is enjoying the fact that the Broncos aren't just terrible every single week this year.
Yeah. I mean, I've had their defense. Like, if you had told me at the beginning of the season, like their defense would be as good as it's been, because I feel like they lost, outside of like getting rid of Russ and stuff like that, they lost some pieces and stuff. And I don't know, man, they keep on getting it done. So, but yeah,
Jonesy I don't know if Jonesy's on a streak right now, but he's certainly looking pretty solid, and his team is, which we'll get probably into the trade a little bit later. But his team is looking pretty complete, top to bottom, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure.
The matchup that we were all very much so enjoying. This is one that I was checking regularly, and it just felt good to see happen finally.
Yes.
Maresco's right around 100-point performance, no longer getting to the win.
Honestly, I feel like this had to be relieving in some ways for Maresco, right? Like,
what?
No, but like he's got like, what do you have, like a 13 or 14 game win streak, dude? Like,
yeah, it had to end.
It had to end, and in some ways, like the pressure sort of just builds the more you win. So sometimes, I think losing sort of eases that burden a little bit for him, and it's just kind of like, okay, let's reset here and go. But yeah, good week from Kirk.
I mean, I think that the big part of the story being that Kirk Cousins, Dan's first in primary 11 fantasy, finally coming good, both in fantasy and in the real world. I mean, albeit against a very injury-ridden Tampa Bay side, but getting the win over Baker, which is a hotly contested subject, the Kirk versus Baker Chronicles, I know, in our league. And then, pulling through in fantasy too. Really put up a lot of points.
Who do you think's been better this year, Kirk or Baker?
Hands down, Baker.
Yeah,
when Baker had healthy receivers. I mean, I don't know down the rest of the year. I'm not sure.
He balled out last week.
Definitely Baker.
Without Godwins and Evans.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Mean, circumstantial, largely circumstantial. We can have a two-timers episode that is just Kirk versus Baker, and we'll have proponents of both sides on, and see what happens. So
I would enjoy that. That'd be a good time.
I think much to our happiness, we were all wrong in this pick. Good to see Maresco go down.
Yeah.
And this brings us to your match, Josh. Another high scoring affair, putting up points. Ben had a solid showing from his team outside of, Mason really hurts for sure. Mason has a decent game. Maybe this one's closer, but your team really top to bottom, pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good to get a win. Definitely, if you take the stat line of whoever the backup is to Mason, I think Ben would have pulled out a win this week.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a little sympathetic on that front because it kind of sucks when that happens. But that's how fantasy rolls, man. So, but yeah, good win. Brees Hall continues to disappoint me this year. It's not been what I had hoped, but
I mean, the Jets continue to disappoint in general.
Good point. Yeah. Yep. So
I wonder if you were to look at the Jets, if any of their, if Wilson, Rodgers, Brees, or now Devontae are going to be productive fantasy players, or they're going to be in this 10 to 15 point range purgatory for the rest of the season.
Yeah, man. I mean, I feel like at some point, they're gonna think they're gonna click, but I don't know now. You know what I mean? Maybe Rodgers is just kind of washed at this point. I
cut you off though. You were excited about Cade Otton, I'd imagine.
Yes, very excited about Cade Otton. So, yeah, great point. I was not watching the game; I was asleep. But Dak did go into the fourth quarter with no points. So
garbage time against San Francisco.
Yep.
Is there a return date for CMC? Do we have anything on the calendar that's saying he's going to be
week 10? Looks like.
Okay, so Ben's just got to hold out another matchup, and hopefully get a pretty significant, piece back. Yeah, we'll leave that one where it lies. Maresco and yourself have a faith in you. I was pulling for Ben.
That's fair. I mean, again, if that injury hadn't happened, you would have gotten a point there.
You're sitting pretty good though, positionally. I mean, we can get into standings in a bit, but 5-3 in fifth place. That's teams. I wouldn't say limping by, but it's doing okay given some of the downsides you've had this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm putting up some points, which is good, especially the past couple weeks. So points for I'm kind of mid. But I had that really shitty week where I put up
you were
or whatever.
Below 60 or whatever.
Yeah. So we'll see, man.
Just gotta stay above 7th pretty much. I mean, at 7th if you want, but
yep.
Speaking of, poor points for the Bears not coming through in the matchup with Washington. At this point, so you can, I think we all took Hannah. Would you just blow up Mitch's team at this point?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's why I made the very aggressive comment last night. I was like, Mitch's team sucks. And it's just getting worse. So at this point, if I was him, I'd be cash it in. Let's get some keepers. I think Mitch has a better shot showing up having to go to Denny's than Micah does, honestly.
Oh.
They have Denny's in New York?
We'll find out.
I was thinking about that recently. I don't know. Is he going to have to make a trip to Virginia or something?
We'll have to look it up. Let's see. I'm sure there's Denny's in New York. Let's
wonder how many pancakes Mitch can eat.
I mean, have the details of there's definitely, the first one I looked up is permanently closed, but it looks like there is one on Long Island. So we'll see.
I don't think Mitch has a car. So
Subway goes everywhere, right?
yeah, yep. See you at Denny's, Mitch.
Brings us to our last matchup of the week. The individual that is claiming to be bound for Denny's as of right now versus Ryan. Ryan having a bit of a resurgence this week after a few down weeks, perhaps, or at least poor matchups.
Yep.
But bouncing back in full
Yeah.
force.
Yeah, pretty dominating performance. Like, I feel like, I don't know, like, Ryan's team, dude, like, if everybody can stay healthy, like, he's going to be a contender. Oh, there we go.
I guess we didn't specify. So
Yeah, we didn't specify. I'm sure we can make, yeah, exactly. I think we can make exceptions, right?
maybe like 2 beers takes an hour off the time or something like that. 1 is too easy. You could down 12 beers in 6 hours. I don't know if it was beers.
Yeah. I feel like maybe we need to look up this specific place and determine like something on the menu that something weird, something gross
All right.
that Mitch has
Maybe
to
they
like,
have pancakes.
consume. Yeah. Maybe they have pancakes, yeah. Who knows? Maybe they serve a great brunch.
This was a pretty easy pick for all of us. I mean, we will get to the point probably of talking about trade a little bit.
Yeah.
On Micah's team, his recent trades, what his team's looking like the rest of the year, what his plan may be for next season is or isn't. But yeah, I mean, not a terrible week for Micah. Not far off the 100-point mark, but just kind of mediocre across the board.
Yeah. I mean, Pickens had, 2 touchdowns basically called back on Monday Night Football, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, plays like that just totally changed. I don't know if that would have changed necessarily the outcome of this matchup, but like it certainly doesn't help. So Waddle didn't do much with Tua's return, which kind of sucks, but
might take some time to settle back in. We'll see. There's still going to be, I think, a push the ball down the field type of offense. It's going to be maybe boom and bust for Waddle a little bit, but
right.
At this point, like, I guess we have the same record, so I shouldn't really be talking too much. But Mike is probably more don't lose in the toilet bowl or don't lose in the consolation bracket and get some keepers than anything, unless he goes perfect the rest of the year.
Right. Yeah. We'll see, man. Anything's possible, as you know.
Takes us to our picks for the week, for the year, rather. I'm still down below. The coin and I tied. Moresco and yourself doing pretty solid. I wouldn't say extending leads, but continuing them. I got some work to do to catch up. Coin plus guest. I need to tally the season total and see how the 2-timers are doing versus the coin and the guest. I've yet to do that, but yeah, congratulations to yourself and Moresco on another solid picking week.
Yeah, we're good at this. I mean, I feel like Moresco and I seem to be picking a lot of the same.
I don't think you chose differently this last week at all.
So we're going to have to break off, I think, at some point here. Try to make things
Well,
interesting.
speaking of breaking off, and you all didn't actually win the week comparatively to both Weggy and Jonesy, who both outperformed you, picking 6 and 1. Weggy also picking Jonesy over Matt, only one to do that. So if he had believed in Dan a little bit, he could have had the first perfect week. I think. I don't know if Jonesy had a perfect week last week. I think he went 6 and 1. But the $2 that all of us wagered now go into a pool that goes into Jonesy and Weggy. So Jonesy and Weggy each get $3 to themselves.
Congrats,
from
boys.
our pots. So we'll coordinate with Dave and figure out the best way to do that. But I think this is Jonesy's second week in a row of winning Fab off of Pick'em.
It's all that politics he's involved in every day. He's all into the strategy and pushing bills through and looking at the data and the numbers and everything. Like, is this a surprise?
Or something to it. Yeah. This time of year too, right? Like we're getting towards an election. Jonesy's really on his game, fantasy-wise and otherwise. So,
oh yeah,
we should expect nothing less. Worth noting that the only individual that went negative is Ben, who also holds the record of 0-7. The only
Oh, boy.
individual to go 0-7 on pick'em. So Ben's got some work to do in his matchups that he's picking.
Yeah.
It's worth noting that we could incorporate that the worst record on this loses some fab, but that might de-incentivize people from engaging in pick'em. So,
I mean, at this point, like, yeah, I think Ben could afford to be penalized, right? Like, because he's making money off of naming rights and stuff these days. So
It's
he
true.
could probably afford some.
it's smart, very smart of him. So we'll have to decipher. I mean, we'll have to get agreement from anyone that enters into pick'em first. So for now, we'll keep it as it is, but
Yep.
we'll see. Oh yeah, good job, Waggy and Jonesy.
Good job. Good job.
Weekly Fab. Weekly Fab was the first category of its like in Two Timers history, which is that it was Mika's team lost. So his team did in fact lose. Maybe we should have just said Mika's team and let it go.
Yep.
But he did win $5 of Fab this week. He got
No.
smoked by
Money.
Ryan. So well done,
Congrats,
Micah.
congrats,
Make
Micah.
sure you use
on
the
losing.
Fab.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously. Does he still have like $100 in Fab? I think he might.
That's a good question. Let's take a quick look at the league and see what the Fab and the Fab situation is here. So he has $105 in Fab, most in the league, more than Hannah with 102 and Mitch with 101. Dave with that big buyout of Juwan has none currently, and then I'm right
Interesting.
behind him with $18 left.
Interesting. It's a very bold move on Dave's part to go down all the way to zero. I feel like it's always nice to go typically like late into the season with like a few dollars, especially like into the playoffs, maybe with like, $5-10 or something. So
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that 105. Oh, is this live? So this is post adjustments, David? I'm assuming everyone has been paid then for their Fab payouts. That's nice.
there you go. All right.
Yeah, but see, like David also has to make picks or make waiver wire moves as if his season is on the line, right? I think
Mhm.
that's the logic with the Juwan pickup, is that you go for
sure.
guys pretty aggressively. Oh, nice.
Yep.
Excellent. You go for guys pretty aggressively to make sure that you can stay because he's in not a win or go home quite yet, but I mean, what we got 1, 2, the 6 through the 10 are all 4 and 4, so that playoff
Right.
position is very much so up for grabs. And then honestly, there's 4 of us in 2 and 6, which is pretty dire. But if a team there wins out or goes on a streak and ends up 8 and 6 or 7 and 7 with good points for, they could very well make a playoff push.
Yeah. The one thing, look at the points against for Ryan and Moresco. Like,
Yeah, lowest
it's
in the league.
drastically different.
Lowest in the league. I think
Yeah.
highest is still Ben. Yeah, 977.
And Dan, I was looking at Dan the other day. He's like the fact that he's 5-3 with some of the injuries he's dealt with. He didn't have Puka for what? Basically like seven
Yep.
weeks. Like, and he's kind of dealt with some other.
Well, and Evans has been in and out, right?
Right.
And then who was the other one? Rashid Shaheed. I guess that's recent, but he lost Rashid Shaheed as well.
Yeah. So that's pretty impressive. Like I would imagine he has to feel pretty good about that he's where he's at. So
Yeah. I mean, if we did the rankings by points for, it's fairly straight up. Ben would be higher. I might be a little bit higher, but for the most part, it's starting to kind of fall in place a little bit, at least 1 through 8.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
we shall see. A lot of season left.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I guess, yeah, while we're doing our housekeeping, Bows of the week this week. Not a ton of action on waiver wires, but there wasn't one individual who was particularly active. and it's Jonesy. We're going to have kind of a collective bozo of the week this week, given that he had 3 claims on. We might even rename this Jonesy of the week. The Buffalo pickup was the only one he actually needed to spend money on. I think the next highest bid was $6. No one bid for Godwin. No one bid for Stafford, unless I'm reading something wrong. So Jonesy could have spent 8 total fab dollars instead of the 25 that he did spend to pick up these 3 individuals.
Interesting. Dude's just throwing money around like it's candy.
I mean, he is winning, fab every single week from us. Doing better on Pick'em. So, worth noting here, and I'm curious your opinion. Let's pull up trades of the week, or at least the trade of the week, because there's a member in Jonesy's pickup that was also part of his trade. So if we go into league transactions, let me share this screen. The big one right there in the middle of the screen, Dobbs and Geno for Pickens and Anthony Richardson. What was your initial reaction to this, Josh, while I pull up a trade analyzer?
I wasn't, this was kind of like one of those quiet ones. I get notifications and stuff. And so I missed it until somebody texted about it. It's an interesting trade. I see. Yeah, it's an interesting trade. I mean, Richardson, I think he got benched yesterday, or was it today? I forget. Yeah, it was yesterday.
I think that Richardson's benching was known about when this trade went through.
Yeah, so
if that changes anything. I mean, Jonesy dropped him right away. So
for sure. Yeah. So it's interesting. I think, Micah giving up Pickens.
Who I think had keeper value.
You had keeper value, so it's interesting. And I feel like Pickens has been oddly underrated this year. I think considering the whole Pittsburgh situation with Fields, but he started to kind of come around with Russ. So I thought it was kind of an interesting move on Micah's part, but I think maybe Micah's thought process was maybe try to upgrade his QB situation to sort of make a little bit of a run if he can. And I think Dobbs is probably, I think he leading the Packers in target share and everything.
Is he really?
I think
just based on the fact that Watson and Reed have both been hurt at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Dobbs missed a game, so I'd have to go back and look at it. But I know currently as it stands, I think he leads. It's he's got a 25% target share. He's pretty reliable. But I don't really know if that really moves the needle much. So it's interesting. I mean, there's so many different ways to approach it. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think it's quarterback driven, clearly, for Micah, right? Geno Smith, I think, is the primary attraction here for him. Sure. It's just to get a quarterback that can start. I don't know if Dobbs was drafted. I'd imagine he was. So maybe there's a little bit of keeper value there too. Maybe a cheap keeper potentially.
Yeah.
I think that the value that Jonesy got, both in current potential or current on-field production and potential keeper value, is significantly higher personally.
Sure.
Granted, he dropped Richardson, so if someone believes in Richardson, go pick him up. I know he's probably a relatively decent keeper. Or, mobile quarterback if Flacco gets benched down the line. I think that situation will depend on how competitive the Colts are. But I think Pickens far and away is the best asset in the trade. I mean, obviously the analyzer agrees, so take that for what it will. But yeah, I don't love the trade for Micah, but I also understand acutely, given my history this year in the league, that fishing for quarterbacks is not a fun thing to do. So
yeah, I know I texted Jonesy about it. I was just kind of asked. I said, with us having the show and everything, it's what was your thought process and everything? To summarize it, he said, one of the things he said was he's obsessed with wide receivers these days, which I think adds up. But he's talking about Micah's needs when it comes to quarterback position, and Dobbs being underrated this year, which I think is true to an extent. But he also just loves trading, and I like to think that I've kind of rubbed off on him because I think Jonesy is the most active when it comes to trading this year, probably in the league. So
yeah, he's had at least 3 or 4 this year.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. I mean, I think trading definitely is fun in fantasy, right? It can be kind of addictive in some ways, speaking for myself. So, but we'll have to see how this one plays out. You never know.
It's true. One injury can dramatically impact the outcome or value of a trade,
For sure.
Anything else you want to chat about before we get into our picks, which is kind of the last thing we got, kind of a consolidated episode this week?
I believe the trade deadline is November after Thanksgiving, I think. I want to say it's the 29th.
So we got a month.
Yeah, we got a month.
4 weeks.
So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think the next few weeks, because teams like yourself, Micah, Mitch.
Do you have any advice for these lower teams that are either potentially lining up to be irrelevant in the league after the next week, or making a Hail Mary type of run? Any trades you would offer up? Any movement you would suggest?
Yeah, I mean, kind of already touched on the Mitch situation. I think he should trade his whole team, personally. I think
would you be going just for keepers for next season, or would you be trying to make a run?
Hell, make a run if you can. See what you can do, because clearly, what he's doing right now is not working. So yeah, I mean, if he can package something together and try to scrape together some wins, he could get back into it. So yeah, Mitch, trade your whole team. That would be my advice for you. Micah, I don't know.
Trading.
Stop trading might be my advice for you. That's a good one. Or if you keep trading, maybe you should come on the show again, talk to us about your thought process a little bit.
It'll be Micah's trade corner here pretty soon.
Yeah. With you, man, I don't know. It's year 3. I mean, we kind of keep on touching on it. It's year 3 in a row of it doesn't. Everything you do, it seems like you just get this bad injury bug. You got Godwin in that deal, and he was crushing it, and then he's out for the year. So I think
gone now.
Yeah. Yep. So it's at this point, I would have to imagine it's kind of mentally, it must be a little taxing. Just kind of being everything you do, it doesn't seem to matter.
I'll say this weekend, not so much, maybe a little bit, but I've been fairly depressed this season in terms of fantasy football. I think that I will say also too, I like to throw a pity party for myself. A lot of people have had to deal with injuries. Dave has had some pretty significant injuries. We were talking about Dan's earlier. It is frustrating for sure. Yeah. I think that this isn't necessarily indicative of what my team could be, but the 2 weeks that I had fully healthy teams, I think I put up 140 something and 150 something. Yeah. And I haven't had healthy players since then. It's been at least 1 to 3 starters out every single week aside from that. So it's frustrating. It's a little bit well, I don't know what else I can do. I mean, obviously you could go back and be oh, maybe I don't trade with Jonesy, but who knows that Godwin's going to get hurt. I liked the trade a lot when we did it, Yeah. So, yeah, I think there's other things in life much more important than fantasy. but
Sure.
it does sting a little bit when you feel like we're going into week 9, and it's like if I don't win and put together a streak, like I'm kind of just along for the ride the rest of the year.
At least you're trying. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like you've been consistently like trying to like improve your roster. And I feel like that trade with Jonesy like did improve your roster. It's just kind of unlucky in some ways.
Yeah.
So Ben's situation's tough. I mean, I was listening
Ben's
to
points against is pretty rough.
yeah, it is. And considering like, I think it's fair to say that McCaffrey was probably in a lot of leagues going as like the overall like 1.
Hmm.
And considering like what Ben paid for him, like pretty brutal. To
Yeah.
not have, the guy who's been like consistently probably in the top 3 in scoring in fantasy for the past like what 3 to 5 years.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Since Carolina, really.
yeah, so
I guess this doesn't really show us much. We can get into way too early playoffs and all that later, but I don't think anyone's I mean, Mitch would have a very big uphill battle. Mike would have an uphill battle. Technically speaking, everyone is still in it. Everyone can still come back and make a playoff push. I think Maresco last year had to win like 4 or 5 straight games to get into the playoffs. So,
yeah,
anything can happen.
yeah, for sure. I know the one thing that for Mitch,
yeah.
I think I want to say he paid like 30 something for Mahomes. And I feel like that, like having like a good quarterback definitely makes a difference. And the fact that Mahomes has really just not performed this year is really hurt, I think, Mitch a lot. So
yeah, surprising given how good the Chiefs have been, or at least how many wins they're getting. But Mahomes isn't really Mahomes. I think we've talked about quarterback play in the past for sure.
Yeah.
And how down it is this year.
Yep. Yeah, so it's just it's how fantasy rolls, man. So, but it's still fun.
Oh, it definitely is.
Easy for me to say.
Speaking of some fun, some joint fun that can be had, we have the Are You Smarter Than a Two-Timer League Pick'em. Joshua, you and I can get into our picks. I'll send out the link now. Form should be out. Obviously, you don't have to fill it out now, but anyone who wants to participate, it's free fab on the line. Fill it out, potentially get something to spend to improve your team. So Josh and I will pull through now, go through the picks. It is worth noting that according to Yahoo or David, I guess, however this was set up, it's rivalry week this week.
Oh.
So let me give us a little bit more space here. Yeah, there we go. We can see everything now. Mitch and I are playing each other. So to Josh, your earlier point about Mitch potentially selling his team, making some moves to make a run, I hope he doesn't do that because I would like to beat him this week. But given that we have no Maresco, it's just you and I going on picks, I guess we'll do the coin as well. I'll let you go first, and we can just kind of go back and forth.
Well, I'm definitely picking
Who you going with here?
You, for sure.
I appreciate that. I will also go myself.
Yeah.
We will have the coin. We'll go Queen. Will be myself. Flowers will be Mitch. Queen. So the coin is going me as well.
Here we go. Sweep.
Next rivalry matchup. A little commissioner battle.
Love it.
This is interesting. I think it did end up being a good rivalry week, at least on projections. Given that a lot of the teams matched up are like fairly close or fairly competitive, either in the rankings or in their current projections to score.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that Dave kind of goes on a bit of a run, hopefully, over the next few weeks, and I'm going to go with Dave on this matchup.
What do you mean by hopefully?
Well, I mean, I'm rooting for Dave. I definitely like Dave more than I like Dan when it comes to fantasy. It's just the general aura about them as individuals and fantasy owners, commissioners. Kirk Cousins lovers or not. I mean, if you want me to go deep dive into Dan, I'm happy to do so. I've got content, but I feel like it'd be better saved for a different episode, maybe when Dan
Sure.
is on the podcast.
Yeah. All right, so you're going Dave.
I'm going Dave.
Man, that's tough. I think I'll go Dave as well, but I would not be surprised if Dan somehow pulls out a win this week. Jaden's got a sweet matchup. Got Brian Robinson, like going up against the Giants, who have a stout defense, to be honest, but I think I like Dave.
All right. We'll go Queen, Dave, Flowers, Dan. It's Flowers, so the coin goes Dan.
All right.
This one goes to you first. It's Matt versus Moresco.
Oh, another good matchup. High projections.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Moresco.
I'm gonna go Matt. I think that the Denver defense might give Baltimore a few issues this week. So I think that might slow down Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers, which is, I think, two big pieces of Moresco's team.
For
So
sure.
I'm gonna go Matt. Go Matt. Queen, Matt, Flowers, Moresco. It's Flowers. Coin is going Moresco. And then we got your matchup versus Weggy, a couple of teams that have been playing really well the last few weeks. Obviously, Weggy with the huge explosion last week.
Yep.
Man, I'm gonna go Weggy. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah. No, it's fair. That's a fair one. Usually when I pick Kevin, he wins. I feel like I should pick myself.
That's why he didn't show up, Jonesy. Just as a heads up, he told us explicitly numerous times that he's not coming on the show unless he wins.
Yeah, I'm gonna go myself.
All right. Kevin, not too happy about that. We'll see what the coin does. We'll say Queen is Weggy, Flowers, Josh. Is the Queen, which means the coin goes with Weggy, which interpret as you will, but that also might be a bad sign.
Yep. We'll see.
What did I say I did here? I said I'm going Weggy on this one? I did.
Yep.
All right. Then we got a little brotherly matchup. I think this one goes to you first.
I'll go Ben.
I'm also going to go Ben. We'll go Flowers, Ben, Queen, Micah. It is Queen. Coin, a little misguided.
Interesting. Very misguided, some might say.
A Natalie versus Hannah matchup. I think this is me first. I don't know why Natalie's. Oh, because of Purdy. That's why
Purdy, yeah.
So low. What's her? She had a number of quarterbacks for a while, didn't she?
I think she did.
She doesn't have any other quarterbacks. Oh, Goff.
Yeah.
She'll just start Goff. This is tough. Kittle's also on bye for Hannah. I'm going to go Hannah.
I'm going to go Hannah as well.
Queen, Hannah, Flowers, Natalie.
Yep. Hannah's been fighting
Queen.
this year. Yeah.
Sweep, at least on the call, for Hannah. Yeah, Hannah's team, I think, is pretty solid. And then maybe the matchup of the week.
Agreed.
With a team that's been solid all year, and then Jonesy's team, which is surging recently. And I don't think either of them have huge bye misses this week either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of full strength on full strength.
Wow. This is a big game.
Yeah. Is it me or is it you?
I think it's me. I'm gonna. Okay, I feel like I gotta switch this up. I'm gonna go with Jonesy this week.
I'm also gonna go with Jonesy this week, and we'll say Queen, Ryan, Flowers, Jonesy. Flowers. Coin is also going Jonesy.
Wow,
Jonesy.
sweet.
So there we go. Lock in your picks. Submit them before tomorrow night's game starts for chances to win Fab.
Yep.
Free Fab. So not a bad dealio there.
Yeah. I know with Pick'em, or Survivor, excuse me, I should say. I know I got a
Yep.
strike this week.
You did.
Because I picked the Jets stupidly. So I'm down to my last.
Oh, fair.
Yeah.
You and Matt both have 2 strikes. I have 1 strike. So I would much prefer to be successful in normal fantasy and not pick them. But I guess I'll take what I can for now.
Sure. Yep. We'll see, man.
I think that's all we really have on the schedule. I guess it is rivalry, kind of halfway through. We can look at this guy, which was our beginning of the season predictions. I'm not feeling too good about my championship predictions.
Yeah.
And picker wheels is pretty rough. Oh, we got to do Fab. We got to do picker wheel Fab. I forgot about that.
Do.
Let's just keep it simple. How about that? Let's do.
I like it. And then naturally, like, we have to sneak Mika in here.
Oh yeah. We will not have a flex. So I guess if you start actually, screw it. We'll have a flex. What am I talking about?
We can do whatever we want.
All right. Look okay?
Yeah. I like it.
Ooh.
Interesting. That'll be a
Rough
fun
week
one.
to not have Pittsburgh's D there, Jonesy. But yeah, defense or special teams / special teams with the most points.
Yeah. All right. See how that goes.
There you go. Don't get too excited, Kevin. I think that's all we got. That's it. I would say short, but it wasn't really short. But at least an OG 2-timers.
Yeah. It's always good to OG session.
Yeah.
Good to see
Feels
Maresco
right. Something
lose.
about it just feels good, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Maresco losing, not being on the show. It's just like,
Yeah. His stupid face. We don't need to see him.
yeah. Or that trophy.
Yeah, it's stupid trophy in the background every week.
You have any Halloween plans?
No. Nothing big. Be interesting. First year in the new neighborhood, and I think we'll have a bunch of kids probably walking around. So we hand out some candy. So that'll be fun. What about you?
No plans. Given where we live in Florida, I think it's mainly retirees. So maybe there will be a kid that comes around. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe get some old people walk around.
I'd be happy to hand out candy to people in walkers. It's all good.
Person knocks on your door. It's just like 75-year-old dude. Just like, hey, you got any Musketeer bars there?
That's right. We have football tomorrow, right? Who's playing tomorrow?
Jets and
We'll
Houston.
probably be most of the evening activities. Oof. Well, I hope Houston spanks them.
Yeah. The point total, I think, for that matchup is not great. So, see how.
Bet the under.
I would probably go the under. Yeah.
Fair.
But,
Well, best of luck
all
to
right.
you with Brees Hall tomorrow evening, and anyone that has Texans or Jets in the works. And best of luck come rivalry week. We'll see how things shake out.
All right.
All right. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Cheers.